John, thank you. It'll certainly be interesting to see if there's a question tonight about that deadly attack on the United States diplomatic mission in Libya. It was a heated subject during the vice presidential debate last week. And some say Joe Biden's comments that night undermined Hillary Clinton's State Department. And now the Secretary of State is responding. She also has some advice for President Obama tonight. Secretary Clinton spoke to CNN's foreign affairs reporter Elise Labott in Peru.
You say you don't want to play a blame game, but certainly there's a blame game going on in Washington. In fact, during the presidential debate, Vice President Biden said, we didn't know. White House officials calling around saying, hey, this is a State Department function. Are they throwing you under the bus?
Oh, of course not. You know, look, I take responsibility. I'm in charge of the State Department, 60,000 plus people all over the world, 275 posts. The president and the vice president certainly wouldn't be knowledgeable about specific decisions that are made by security professionals. They're the ones who weigh all of the threats and the risks and the needs and make a considered decision.
Intelligence community initially called it a protest. State Department never did. You never did. The story has changed now. And as you know, Republicans are charging that this was a cover-up. Was it a rush to judgment, or was it bad intelligence, as Vice President Biden suggests?
You know, Elise, I take a very different view of this. I have now for 20 years been very much in the administration decision-making, first with my husband, then after 9/11, working with President Bush, now, of course, in President Obama's cabinet. In the wake of an attack like this, in the fog of war, there's always going to be confusion. And I think it is absolutely fair to say that everyone had the same intelligence. Everyone who spoke...
Bad intelligence,
well,
it seems,
everyone
though.
who spoke tried to give the information that they had. As time has gone on, the information has changed. We've gotten more detail. But that's not surprising. That always happens. And what I want to avoid is some kind of political gotcha or blame game going on, because that does a disservice to the thousands and thousands of Americans, not only in the State Department and USAID, but in the military, who serve around the world. Everyone wants to make sure they are as safe as possible, but they are doing the job that they were sent out to do.
Well, Ambassador Stevens' father this week said his death is being politicized. Democrats are calling it a witch hunt. Is that what's happening here?
Well, I'm not going to get into the political back and forth. I know that we're very close to an election. I want just to take a step back here and say, from my own experience, we are at our best as Americans when we pull together. I've done it with Democratic presidents and Republican presidents. I've seen it happen where people say, look, first and foremost, we're Americans. We've lost 4 brave men. Dozens more had to fight for their lives over a very long battle. They had to get evacuated because of the dangers that they were facing.
Well, I mean, we have an election coming up. Rationale is that this is to go against President Obama. But some people think it's to stop Hillary Clinton from making any gains for 2016.
You know, that is just so far from anything that anybody should be thinking about.
Secretary Clinton.
Well, I can't speak to that. The only threats I'm worried about are the threats to my men and women on the ground every day as we speak. It's what I'm obsessed with. It's what we've worked so hard to evaluate. And of course, we're part of a team. We're a team with DOD. We're a team with the intelligence community. We're a team with the White House and other assets of the government.
Going to watch the debate?
I am. We're going to try to get home in time to be sure that I see every minute of it.
You've debated President Obama. You've watched many debates. What does he need to do in this debate?
He just needs to be himself and answer the questions and get out there and tell people, not just those in the audience, but in our country, what he has done and what he will do. I think that this is a consequential election for both domestic and international reasons. And although I am out of politics, I am still an American and care deeply about what happens in my country.
Secretary Clinton, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks very much, Elise.
Thank you.
interview by Lisa Labott there. Let's bring in Gloria Borgia, David Gergen, and John King. Do you have any doubt that this is going to come up tonight? I mean, Hillary Clinton saying, I take responsibility. I'm sure Governor Romney...
It'll be interesting to see whether one of the people from the audience raised it. I think what Hillary Clinton did very effectively here, although she says she's not in politics anymore, I think she took it off the table to a certain degree, better than the administration has done for itself. And she fell on her sword. This happened on my watch. The vice president was correct. He didn't know. We didn't know it was terrorism.
It also does leave an opening, though, for Governor Romney to say, well, the buck stops with the president, and the president should say the buck stops with him.
If it's raised, I think
what are you looking for tonight?
Well, after just hearing that, we've been talking about how aggressive Obama should be, how should Romney countercharge. I think the real question is, can they meet the Hillary Clinton bar? Can they meet her standard? Because she sets a high one here. Right. I mean, she's gracious, she's dignified, she says what she wants to say, she's not political. That's a very compelling interview. And I don't think she's taking it off the table. I mean, Harry Truman kept that sign. She kept that sign on his desk. The buck stops here in the White House. That's what Barack Obama has said. I don't think that this is enough, but I do think
that is a former rival turned very loyal soldier in trying to step forward. She knows her credibility, not just with Democrats, with the American people, and she's trying to say, this is on me. What you'll hear from Governor Romney tonight is he will say this is one of many examples, one of several examples, if it comes up, where the president tries to wash his hands of responsibility and push it off on somebody else. The vice president publicly blamed the intelligence community. The next morning, the White House publicly blamed the State Department. Trust me, people in both those communities and departments didn't like that, but she was a loyal soldier there. The question is whether, look, this is an election about the economy, the economy. The question is, can Governor Romney connect that to the president's leadership?
This could also have blowback for Hillary Clinton personally by falling on her sword the way she did.
Positive.
So you got to give her
people give her points for that.
But she's out of politics, as she said. Stand by for our exclusive interviews. Ann Romney on how her husband deals with mistakes, and Michelle Obama on something that might make her more nervous than tonight's debate. Details.